I know that you got opinions, but won't you consider this? Your skin tone oppresses millions, so just quiet down a bit. Come join me in gender studies, come get a useless degree. And when you make garbage money, take no responsibility. Come be PC. Come be PC.
Hello, lovelies. I'm pissed off about The Little Mermaid, of all things. Except, I'm not. Not really. I have no love for Disney animations, or increasingly of late Disney at all. Indeed, my loathing of Disney Winnie the Pooh is legendary around these parts. And I certainly don't have any particular love for The Little Mermaid. That's for girls. Ew. So no, it's not the pointless and unneeded remake, and it's not really the casting. It's an accumulation of things, microaggressions, if you will, if the use of that terminology will increase your capacity for sympathy. It's all of this going back years and years and years, from the all-female Ghostbusters dud and the way they went after the fans and accused anyone who pointed out it was shit of being sexism as some sort of shield, right the way through seemingly every piece of entertainment over the last few years, last 10 years almost, through to Amazon's Lord of the Rings. And then The Little Mermaid is just the sprat that broke the dugong's back, if you will. No, it's the smug self-satisfaction of people who barely think at all, and certainly not in terms of consistent principles, ethics, or other important considerations. It's the weight of all this fan baiting, deliberately insulting and upsetting fans to get free publicity from the conflagration that emerges online. It's the way in which they throw minority actors to the mob as a way of generating publicity, all just to generate buzz. And it's the uncritical, unthinking nature of the people who clap along with it, hawking like seals, and posting those smug memes. It's the idea that one group of people wanting to see themselves represented is racist, but another group of people being unable to identify with characters who don't look like them is not racist. Yeah, it's got to be one or the other. We are capable of identifying with characters who don't look like us, or we're not. And I believe the science shows that we can, and we do, idolise people of every gender, race, creed, nationality, ethnicity, whatever, in the terms of the story. We may find one thing that we latch onto from a character, that we see ourselves in, or that we don't see ourselves in, that we aspire to, or that we hate, and that engages us with the story. It's the idea of minority representation, that it's somehow a good thing when you override a majority with a minority, or, in this case, where you override a smaller minority with a larger one. I believe, if I remember correctly, about 2% of the world is ginger, and about 20% is of African descent, which is the minority. It's the disrespect to cultural artifacts and mythology and the intent and desire and the vision of the creators. It's the abandonment of verisimilitude, consistency, suspension of disbelief, and fidelity to the source in the name of shallow, patronising box ticking and, frankly, bigoted diversity casting. I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you just put someone with my disabilities or identity categories into a film to try and appeal to me, I find that patronising, and I would rather you chose someone who was good for the part, or appropriate for the part, rather than trying to appeal to me at the cost of the story, the verisimilitude, the consistency, the suspension of disbelief, and the fidelity to the source. And if I hear, "Oh, well, there's magic and dragons and science fiction in the world, so anything goes," one more time, the opposite. It's the idea that diversity is every single show and piece of media looking like Captain fucking Planet, rather than different shows and ideas taken from different mythologies and cultures and stories coexisting in the media landscape. It's the special pleading and the hypocrisy that it's okay when we do it, rather than there being a consistent principle of it being wrong to recast important parts, even historical ones, outside of their ethno-cultural or gender appearance or whatever you want to call it. So we end up in a situation where you can have Jodie Turner-Smith, black actress, playing Anne fucking Boleyn in a supposed historical drama, but not Carrot Top playing Shaka Zulu, and certainly not Ed Sheeran playing the new Black Panther. It's people who style themselves as rebels and fellow leftists becoming lickspittles to multi-billion-dollar companies. People so easily manipulated by arch capital that it's a wonder they don't pay a subscription fee to be allowed to tie their shoelaces that they bought from Amazon. It's people feeling fine and secure, telling me that I turn these arguments into a lofty mental exercise. Them saying that as an insult. I will never regard being told that I think about things too much, or at all in this case, as an insult. But it is insulting that you would say that. Insulting to my intelligence, and more importantly, insulting to yours. Of course, these issues are complex. They contain lots of moving parts, and they need to be fucking thought about. Our instincts are evolved for small tribes on the African savannah. They're not suited to the situation in which we find ourselves, so we have to use our conscious rather than our instinctual brains. Or it's people feeling fine to tell me it's not about casting or replacement as a principle, it's just revenge for the things that the overculture did in the past, the bad choices, the blackface and so on of decades, centuries past. That there's no consistent principle here whatsoever behind what they're asking for, what they're demanding, what they're forcing, just petty revenge, and then being fine with that, and not only fine with that, but fine with expressing that, expressing the very bigotry that mere moments ago they're saying that they're fighting against. Not wanting equality, fairness and sensitivity moving forwards, but rather holding people accountable for the sins of their fathers. And no, you know what, fuck it. Let's reductio that absurdum about as far as it will go to show how insane and offensive that point of view really is, right? We do not allow Israel to execute 6 million Germans because young Germans today hold no guilt, no accountability for what their ancestors did. And we recognise that genocide is wrong in and of itself. There is consistency there. There is a principle being applied consistently. There's not apologia for the very same bigotry or horrors and genocide in this case that some people will find themselves excusing if you take it to its logical conclusion. So no, it's not the Little Mermaid per se. It's the absurdity. It's the stupidity. It's the absence of critical thinking. It's the hypocrisy. It's the apologia for bigotry. It's all of these things going for years, and it's that this one latest little thing is just one thing too many. When the smug memes and the stupidity is constantly appearing on my social media fields, unchallenged, and it's being told off for thinking, for using my brain, for having consistent and universal ethics, which I think is something we should all aspire to, and being told off for commenting in passing on the Emperor's nakedness. Yo.
Machinations of the Space Princess is an old-school RPG with a sci-fi setting. The rules are familiar and at once innovative. Opened up so you can play literally any alien species you can envision. Purchase it at RPG Now or Lulu.com.
The gallows is cold and the gibbet is lonely. We'll make things hard for you here. The gallows is cold and the gibbet is lonely. We'll make things hard for you, Joni, my dear.
No more mansplaining, no victim blaming, come BBC. No problematic words that cause panic, no more dramatic factory